The Chassepot is a French rifle famed for its use in the Franco-Prussian War. What does this keyboard have to do with a rifle of the same name? I couldn't tell you. They're not even made in the same country either, and they're not even used for the same purpose. However, this one has a more interesting purpose in the modern era. So, underneath the box, there's a plastic cover, which covers the keyboards. And upon pressing a few buttons, I didn't realize the keyboard just turned on by itself. That's due to the fact that the keyboard was on wireless mode the entire time, but it doesn't drain batteries, and it automatically turns itself off after a while, so there's no worries there. So I'm getting a feel for how this square keyboard would work. It's quite unusual, and it's the first time I've seen it in person. Now in here is a instructional manual in a multitude of languages such as Arabic, French, and obviously English. Now here, you've got a USB Type-C port, and that's cool because on the other end, there's a USB hub. Now here, you have a cool looking mural, and they give you a pretty nice piece of artwork. I guess it just celebrates the nature of gaming and I'm not really sure, but it looks nice. And on the back of it is a thank you note. And that's pretty cool. I like how customers get these thank you notes because, we make these companies work. Don't get me wrong there. And right here we have the USB Type-C cable. The cable is coiled up and it's ready to be used, but I'm not really into using it. I already have a Type-C cable. It's a nice cable though, so if you want to use it in wired mode, you should probably use that cable instead. The Otemu brown switches in this keyboard are a combination of the heaviness of blue as well as the silence of reds. It allows you to really enjoy the feeling of typing without annoying everyone around you and your teammates on their microphone. And here you can see I'm just fiddling with the buttons, I'm just typing. The keycaps feel quite nice despite being of a technically inferior plastic. Here's a sound test. Now, Chassepot attempted to create a sort of hybrid between a 60% and a full size. Judging by the fact that this top row exists, they thought that putting all of the functions vertical, making a more square keyboard, was the best course of action. Of course, the layout is extremely similar to your average keyboard. However, there's a couple of changes that may be questionable to you. There's a lot of anomalies here. There's a Windows key right next to Tab. There's the arrow keys in the bottom left. There's also a delete key at the bottom row. There's a backspace right beside space. And there's a second backspace where it normally is. Now, honestly, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to anything we're giving it to you. But let's talk about my first time experience learning this. So typing is pretty good. It's almost the same as typing as a normal keyboard. Let's talk about the software now. Most gaming or mechanical keyboards have their own software, and this is no exception. You can find a link to their software at the description below. The RGB functionality is quite good. It allows you to switch between a lot of presets, and a lot of single color presets allow you to switch through true RGB, allowing you to use any color you want. The RGB effects are quite good, and there's quite a few. It comes with the standard ones such as color wave and such. The next part of this is macro functionality, and macro functionality is kind of basic, but it works. You can create a macro, set a name for it, record your key sequences, and by default it records the delays between key presses in milliseconds. You can also record mouse inputs. The macro recording function allows you to record macros more granularly. It allows customization over your own macro timing, the keys pressed, whether or not keys go up or down, and even throw in some mouse inputs in the mix. And macro functionality comes into play later on when you're able to fully customize your key buttons. The keyboard is fully programmable, with each key being programmable in any way, including the FN key. Here we'll be using the A button as an example right here. You can set it to default. You can also set it to be one single key. You can set it to a mouse input, a macro, a key combination, opening a program, a multimedia key, a Windows hotkey, and you can just outright disable the key. This feature set allows it to have a second life as a sort of macro pad, a secondary macro pad to your primary keyboard that you might be used to. And I am extremely tempted to try this out and see how it works, but from my own testing, it works perfectly. Wow, it does a really good job of being a macro pad. So rather than this being some sort of one-off gimmick keyboard with a 60% profile with an extra layer on top, you have essentially created a macro pad of over 100 keys that can be combined into whatever you want, basically. Now this is a huge value add for me.
The actual typing experience is quite nice on this keyboard. I mean, you can type on any keyboard that doesn't have an unusual layout, but the actual feeling of striking the Utami browns down, it's quite pleasant, and it feels nice. It's smooth without being too smooth. Like, it doesn't melt in your hands.
I believe that the most genuine value add to what would normally be a $150 to $200 keyboard is whether or not you value macros. And the typing experience is good, I've said that already. But I think this keyboard's second functionality as a secondary keyboard, for someone like me who owns a ton of keyboards, it's perfect. It works really well and it adds to my workflow. And I actually used it to help in part with recording these videos and such. Well, not recording, but editing the videos. It's quite good. I wholly recommend it. To my loyal subscribers, thank you for watching my video, and thank you for subscribing and liking my videos, and please continue to share me with your friends. And a special thanks to Chassepot for providing me this keyboard. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible.